We will now begin session 3, and we have 4 presentations, 15 minutes each. So this is session 3. And we have presentations by the Korea Veterans Health Service, Korea Rural Economic Institute, Korea Rural Community Corporation, and Good Farmers. And so I would like to invite Mr. Lee Sang-yoon, who heads the Social Value Department at Korea Veterans Health Service. Good afternoon. My name is Lee Sang-yoon. I'm from the Korea Veterans Health Service. We are presenting best practices. However, many of you are probably unfamiliar with our service. So I would like to introduce the KVHS and also show you a video, and I think I will be able to give a short presentation. So this is an introduction to our service. And we were established in November of 1981 under the Ministry of Patriots and Veterans Affairs. And so I don't think I need to cover these slides, so I would like to skip them. And we have a medical center, medical hospitals that are run by our organization. There are 6 of them throughout the nation. Now we have one in Tuncheon-dong of Seoul. This is the medical center, and also we have hospitals in Gwangju and other regional cities, and in total we have 3,500 beds. And so as a public hospital, we had medical services to deal with the COVID-19 patients, and also we have nursing hospitals. And here you can see the 6 nursing homes, and we will be adding one this year, and then another one will be established in Cheonju, making a total of 8 nursing homes, veterans nursing homes throughout the nation. Also, we have home-based services, so we actually visit the customers in order to provide our services. And I want to focus on this part. KVHS is quite sizable. We have a medical center, many hospitals, and we have been selected over the last 10 years as an excellent organization, and many other organizations are benchmarking our service. And we heard many wonderful programs carried out by other organizations, and they were quite sizable organizations. So I kind of worried about what I need to talk about during this presentation. However, we do have some activities, and these activities have to do with overseas patriots and the descendants of the independence patriots, and we believe that we should provide services to them. And so, as you can see on the slides, we have the descendants of the independent patriots, and you can see that many of them are missing their limbs, and many children are missing their limbs as well. And so in the beginning, we began by providing prosthetics. And we began in year 2001, and we provided prosthetics to 491 people in total. And this is an article from Donga Daily from 1927, October 31st. And I'm sure you are familiar with historic figures such as Kim Ja-jin and Kim Hyuk. And they were patriots, and they established a school called Shinchang School in North Manchuria in 1927. And currently the name has changed to Haerim City Korean Chinese Experimental Elementary School. And so this is the only primary school in China that gives lessons in Korean. And if you look at the pictures, you can see that the school looks a bit old and outdated. However, if you look at the students, they look no different from students in Korea. Now, why do I talk about the school? I looked at the toilet facilities of this school, and usually the toilets are inside the school building. However, when I visited this school, it was 2015, 2016, they were very dirty and they were outside the school building. Now, do we have such schools in Korea? I don't think so. And so I was very surprised at the state of the toilets. And so that is why we collected contributions in order to provide a modern toilet for the students. And so this is their toilet now. And we constructed a corridor so that the school building is connected to this separate toilet building. And in the past, students found it very difficult to use the toilets in the winter, but now they have hot running water and they can use the corridor and reach the toilets without going outside. And sometimes you purchase lottery tickets, and actually you are helping the independence patriots by buying that lottery, because part of the lottery fund is used to provide housing for these people. And so that's what you are seeing in the picture. And we believe that these patriots and the descendants should be living in good living conditions, and that is what we're doing. Because you purchase these lottery tickets, we are very grateful towards you, and that is why I would like to show a relevant video and end my presentation on that note.
저는 46년생이고요. 이름은
I was born in 1946. My name is Han. And when I came here in year 2004, there were only storages here, warehouses. I was economically active at that time, so I worked hard. And I built this facility using bricks. However, the facilities are old now, and I get rainwater coming inside the house, and I had to put bowls to catch the rainwater. How are you? When you first came to this house, it looked like a half-baked, half-finished house. And you were building your house yourself. And when we went inside your house, rain was falling through the roof. There was a lot of leakage. And when I first visited you, I remember you and your wife were staying in this fan. Well, it was cold, so we stayed inside the car and we turned on the car heater. And when I went inside the house, inside a room, I tried to do something, but it was colder than outside. Well, we felt that we had to rebuild this house and actually focus on the roof and also the walls. And also, the house needed a new boiler. And so we rebuilt the house. And actually, throughout the nation, there are about 850,000 patriots, and we were able to provide homes to about 4,100 of them. And these patriots are now quite elderly, so we don't have much time remaining. We want to secure ample funds and budget and speed up our services as soon as possible. And we want to have these patriots live their remaining lives in comfort. And so I really want to work on this before it is too late. I really feel bad for these patriots. I don't know how to repay you. I am so grateful. It's great. The house is great. There's nothing more to say. I hope that you will enjoy good health and be happy. Be warm. Well, now my children can visit and come inside. And my daughter called me and she wanted to come and see what the house looks like. Yes, I have one last remark. Now, in Haedim City, we have the toilet of the experimental primary school. And if you look at the living conditions, the dwelling conditions of the patriots in Korea, actually their condition is even worse than the toilets that I showed you. So I hope that providing houses for these patriots, this project can be very successful this year. We want to really continue with this. And of course, we have overseas, we have patriots living overseas, and we want to provide better dwelling for them as well. Yes, we should not forget about what these independence patriots did for us, patriots and the descendants both in Korea and in other nations. And we should also always bear them in mind and try to support them. So thank you very much for that talk.
청천경제연구원의
Next, we will be hearing from Lee Ho-jung from Korea Rural Economic Institute. And the presentation title is A Project to Promote Korea's Agricultural Administration for Food Security in Developing Countries. Hello, everyone. As was introduced, I am Lee Ho-jung from Korea Rural Economic Institute. And in the previous presentation, we heard about support to various people. We are a research institute, however, and so we do not go out in the field to provide actual support. As a research institute, we work with the civil servants in developing countries and also experts in developing countries to carry out studies on policies. And so the title of my presentation is A Korean Agriculture Policy Experience for Food Security. And we receive support from the Food and Administration organization. And so we see many organizations. Therefore, I want to first introduce the Korea Ruler Economic Institute, and then I will go on to our KPEX program. So Korea Ruler Economic Institute provides studies and research in a comprehensive way for the development of ruler society and ruler economy. We were established in 1978, and we are a part of NRC. And we carry out research for the agricultural sector, policy research, and also economic planning research. And we also research items, demand and supply trends and forecasts. And we also do promotion on the agricultural policies. We also provide research and studies for other public organizations. So this is the vision of KREI. As a public organization, we want to play a social role. To expand such social role, we are putting in various efforts. So we are identifying and responding to social agendas and trying to identify agricultural policy challenges. We are also working with other organizations for collective intelligence, and our organization chart is shown here. We have the research side, and so the agricultural food system, environmental resource research, and the agricultural industry innovation research, and there's also their management center, and so we have support organizations as well. Today, as a success case of KREI, I am going to be talking about the Korean agriculture policy experience for food security. I'm sure you know about KSP, carried out by the Ministry of Finance and Economy. So KPEX is a agricultural experience sharing program and knowledge sharing program similar to KSP. And we are trying to achieve sustainable development goals in developing countries by strengthening food security. And as we are converting from MDG to SDG, Korea's agricultural sector development experience can be used by developing countries, and we were thinking about how it can be adopted as policies for these developing countries. So just because we had certain experiences, we are not trying to enforce our experiences and policies onto developing countries. Rather, we work with developing countries as a partner for 1 year to identify their demands. So the major task of this project is to identify the requirements and demands of the developing countries, and we study with the partner countries about what they will need. And so this is the project content. First, we have the capacity building part for developing countries. So it is related to the policy consultation. We work with the Ministry of Agriculture members to assess their situation, to identify their current status and any issues that they may be facing. And we study for 1 year, having exchanges to identify what those issues are. So this year, due to COVID-19, we could not go out into the field, but generally speaking, we would go and pay visits 3 to 4 times, and we carry out demand surveys once we go there. During the first round, second round, and third round field survey, we, for example, will fill in the content of what they need, and then we provide consulting about their agricultural policies. Let's say there is a certain area that lags behind, then we can collect basic data on what needs to be done, and then we can provide suggestions. And then civil servants and the experts, if we see that they need some capacity building, then we can provide training. Also, this program has some advantages in which the specialists in those countries come to Korea. They stay for 2 months. They visit smart farms and other distribution centers, and they can visit these actual places to have hands-on training, and then they can identify action plans and also identify some ODA projects if they need them. And through capacity building, ODA projects can be identified through this system. KOICA, they have offices worldwide. Therefore, they can carry out demand surveys through those offices. But the Ministry of Agriculture and Food, we don't have those types of channels. Therefore, utilizing KPEX, we can identify the demand of the developing countries, and we can have an in-depth study of the demands that developing countries have in the area of agriculture. And we are developing ODA programs by doing this. Per year, we work with about 3 countries, and these countries pay visits to Korea, and we go to that country to have sharing sessions of each other's experience, and the results are shared via the exchange programs. And it's not only just uploaded, the students that have received training can continuously follow up on what they are doing when they go back to their countries. So even after the project is completed, there is continuous exchanges by providing information of what is being implemented in their countries. So it not only leads to enhancement of knowledge, it can be shared with other developing countries, and then it can become a larger scale ODA project. So this is the structure that we are using. And CAPEX started in 2013. We worked with Cambodia, Laos, and Ethiopia. So per year, we work with 3 to 4 countries. And as you can see on this slide, we have an in-depth study based on the themes of that year. We look at their regulations and laws. Let's say in the system of agricultural policy making, how are we working with the promotion corporations and what functions each organization plays? And then in Cambodia, we think about which organization should play certain roles. So there's continuous discussion on this. With these countries shown on this slide, we have been carrying out joint studies. In 2017 up until 2020, we have been working with these partner countries, and we receive questions on how these countries are selected. The coordination office, the government coordination office, they receive studies and on the demands of these countries, and then there are members internally and externally that selected the partner countries. So there is a process of selecting the partner countries. And as a success case, as a best practice, what I would like to introduce to you is what is ultimately being pursued by CAPEX. So it's in essence what we are pursuing, and we feel that this is the model that we should follow. That is why I want to introduce this as a best practice. It's a country in Africa, Mozambique, to establish a agriculture technology expansion system for small farms. So technology is not being just devised in laboratories. We wanted to have such technology being used in the actual farms, and that is very important in agriculture. So here we created a system in which technology can be learned by these small farms. And we wanted to increase the policy capacity. There was short and long-term training, and then there was also a workshop done. Generally speaking, other organizations and departments, they have a 1 week or 10-day survey of creating the projects. So that is a trend. However, for CAPEX, we work on the survey for 1 year together with the partner country, and I think that is quite significant and meaningful. So we went through these various activities, and it's not just about training and devising policies. It is more about how these trainees went back to their countries to come up with a Mozambique agriculture technology master plan. And the basic data and information provided via CAPEX was adopted in Mozambique's agricultural technology master plan. And in 2018 to 2020, it was selected as the Ministry of Food and Agriculture ODA project, and it was scaled up. It is now being carried out as an ODA project. So it is a success case of this virtuous cycle. So we had this research report that came out from the joint study that was carried out under the CAPEX program. So we don't have a network in the field, and so for those that do not have these networks, this is something that I think you can utilize. So even if you do not have a network in that country, in NRC, there are many research institutions that carry out various studies. So you can take advantage of such research that is being done, and it contributed to policy, and also it led to an ODA project. And with this, I would like to end my presentation. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We heard from Lee Hyo-jung from KREI. So it is important to have activities overseas, but it's also important to have research that backs these activities. Next, we will be hearing from Korea Rural Community Corporation, Mr. Myung-chul.
수도권 해안
The presentation will be on NCICD consulting project. Good afternoon. My name is Myung-chul. I'm from the Korea Rural Community Corporation. We began international cooperation projects from 1967, so we have a 50-year history. And we have projects that have to do with rural development and infrastructure development. And we have carried out about 50 different projects. And I would like to focus on just one of these numerous projects. We have worked on the Saeman-gum dike project. There are numerous projects, construction projects that were carried out by the Korea Rural Community Corporation. And currently in Jakarta of Indonesia, they are trying to beef up the infrastructure in order to reduce the damage from floods. So this is my table of contents. And as I said, in the northern coastal area of Jakarta, we are trying to build up these dikes. And KOICA ODA is the project. And 4 civil engineering companies participated with Korea Rural Community Corporation to form a consortium. And the period of the project is 4 years. And the Netherlands came up with a master plan for this project. However, in 2015, Indonesia was very impressed with our Saemangeum project. And that is, at that time, Indonesian officials asked the Korean government to provide our consulting services, and that is why we are participating in this NCICD project. So this is Jakarta, the capital of Indonesia, and it is in a coastal region, and whenever it rained a lot, the city was flooded. However, since year 2007, the seawater inundated the land area, and it showed different characteristics from before. And this was because of the land subsidence occurring in the coastal areas. And the dikes were becoming lower because of the land subsidence, and that led to flood damages. And you can check out the scene in the pictures. So in all three areas, this is actually the same region. So first, you see the area that is flooded in year 2007, and then the middle picture shows the flooded area in 2017. And following the flood in year 2007, you can see that the dike was heightened by about 1.5 meters. In spite of such efforts, because of the ground sinking, you can see that in year 2007, the seawater was inundating the inland areas. And since then, the dike was rebuilt by about 1 meter. So this work has to happen every time there is a flood. So the coastal area of Jakarta is experiencing 5 to 10 meters of land subsidence. And this is due to many reasons. First, there is over-extraction of groundwater in this area. And if the ground sinking continues at the current rate, then in the near future, the entire area of Jakarta will be under sea level, leading to much damage during floods. And so, to alleviate these damages, many efforts are being made and many technologies have been proposed in order to build up dikes in this region. And first, we have the master plan by the Netherlands. And they came up with a master plan in year 2003. Also in year 2016, the president of Indonesia asked the ministries not only to build up the dikes, but to comprehensively develop this coastal region. So accordingly, the Indonesian government and the relevant ministries came involved, and they came up with this vision regarding the NCICD. And this project is made up of 3 phases. First of all, we must stop the immediate damage from the flood. So that's stage A. And in the mid and long term, the project wants to build up an outer sea dike. And this is divided up into stages B and C. And in certain areas, this area B, the land subsidence is more serious. So we will be working on area B before we work on area C. In September of 2016, the Korean government and the Indonesian government and the Netherlands signed an MOU and decided to go ahead with this project. So the Korean side, well, we are actually experts on building the dike, so we will be working on stage B. And the Netherlands will be in charge of stage A, which is reinforcing the existing dikes. So accordingly, Korea will be work on stage B, and we will be carrying out feasibility analysis and technology support. And we will come up with a basic design for the outer sea dike, come up with measures to improve the water quality, and come up with plans to develop the city, and come up with measures to prevent the floods. And so we will be concluding the feasibility study within this year. Now, as for building up the dike, we collected the opinion of many different stakeholders, and we had shareholders meetings on 130 occasions. And so the dike has to stop the water from overflowing. However, we must not hinder the passage of fishing ships. And also we need to protect the environment and so forth. And so there were numerous ideas regarding the design of the outer sea dike, and there were many meetings regarding the numerous designs, and the IFSP 2019 was the final version that was chosen. And the dike will be built in phases. So for the immediate future, if we just utilize the current design, this will lead to heavy pollution in Jakarta. And that is why we will use a open sea dike in the near future. And then after 2050, we will convert to a closable structure. So based on this basic design, we have ironed out the specific design for the dike. And the dike has to protect the coastal area and also provide new roads that connect to the outer circular road. And also we need to preserve the mangroves. So there were many requirements that we had to meet. And so there are different dikes, and if you connect them all up, it will be 21 kilometers from east to west. And there will be 5 open areas. And the open areas will be about 7% of the 21 kilometers. And through these open gaps, water will freely flow. And by doing that, we will be able to prevent pollution problems. And we are planning 5 bridges. And also there will be a road which will have 6 lanes. Next, I would like to show you the typical section of the dike, and this is similar to the dike that we had in Saemangum. The main material will be sand and rock. And the height will be 17 meters, and the width will be about 170 meters. And since the ground is weak in this area, we will be working on the foundation before we install the dike. And I talked about the 6-lane road, and the 4 lanes in the middle will be tolled lanes. And we have these floodgates, and they will open and close so that the ships can pass by. Currently, there are obstructions to our project. There are some gas pipelines, so we will have to move them. And there are optic cables that link Jakarta and other regions. And the optic cables will have to be moved in order to go ahead with the dike construction. And after installing the dikes, we will have to continue to operate the generation plants here. And as for the rock and sand that is needed to construct the dike, it will have to be shipped over from areas near Jakarta. And of course, they're not near, they're 120 kilometers away, but there will be extraction from the quarries and the material will be moved by ships. This slide has to do with improving the water quality. If we have an open dike, so that will be in operation until 2030, and we will need to install sewage treatment facilities. And about half of the sewage treatment facilities will be completed by 2030, and then the rest will be completed after 2030. So since we have an open dike until 2030, we will be able to have water flow back and forth, and that will lead to less water pollution. So this is the construction fee. And in the red box, you can see the construction cost for the open dike. And if there are no water pollution issues, then we will convert to the adjustable dike, and we will need an additional 3 trillion won. And so it will be a costly project, and that is why we will be working on the MPD. So we will have extra land that will be created, and that will be sold off for economic development. And there are many plans for this. We are envisioning a logistics center, an advanced industrial center, and also residential area, tourism area, and dwelling area for the poor. Now here I have a chart comparing the NCICD and Saemangeum dike. In the case of NCICD, it was a much needed project in order to prevent the floods, and it directly led to the lively residents. As for the Saemangeum project, it was just to expand the national land and to get additional agricultural land. And you can see the differences in the construction cost and financing and so forth. So I have talked about the feasibility study carried out for the dike, and we will have the final report within this year. I think we have about 20 more days. And the Indonesian government will decide whether to go ahead with the open type dike or not. And once we get the green light, we will begin place an order for the construction of the dike in 2022. And then as for the detailed design and actual construction and supervision, many Korean firms will be participating. And that was my presentation. Thank you. Yes, thank you very much. That was a presentation by Mr. From the Korea Rural Community Corporation, and he talked about the NCICD consulting project.
We will now go on to the last presentation for today. It will be provided by Good Farmers Secretary General Dong Yong-seung, and he's going to be talking about the poultry farming project to increase farm household income in Vietnam and Laos.
사단법인 굿파머스 사무총장.
Hello everyone, I am Dong Yong-seung, Secretary General of Good Farmers. It is a great honor to be providing this presentation as a small NGO at a grand occasion such as the Global Korea Convention 2020. today I am going to be talking about the poultry farming project carried out in Vientiane, Laos. But before I go on to the project, I want to introduce to you our organization, Good Farmers, and then I'm going to talk about the project that we are carrying out in Laos, the background of it, and the meaning of the project. First, Good Farmers. It is a Korean non-profit organization in the area of agriculture and livestock and food. So we work in the developing countries. We work with the poor in the rural areas and the underprivileged in Korea and the rural area in North Korea in order to support the self-sufficiency of those living in these areas by utilizing food and agriculture and livestock industry. So we support the livestock, agriculture, and food industry in these countries. And I believe that this area is one of the basic areas for the livelihood of those living in these areas. We are carrying out projects in 3 areas. For first, overseas projects, we carry out projects to increase the household income of farms. And we also have programs that develop agriculture industry and technology education. In Korea, we have programs to provide treatment through agriculture and supporting the startups of youth in this area. And as the Korean Peninsula Project, we are supporting North Korean rural support programs and Korean Peninsula training program. We are working in Uganda and Burkina Faso. So these 2 projects have been completed, and currently we have projects in Bangladesh, Laos, and Cambodia. And next year we will be starting a project in Myanmar. So that was a brief introduction of our organization, Good Farmers. Next, I'm going to go on to the Vientiane Laos project to increase farm household income. So, the background. In Korea, as well, in the 1950s and 60s, we received aid from overseas. And if you think about those times, it was not easy to have an egg during a meal. But on the other side, there were people who sent their children to school and even university and got their children married just by participating in poultry farming. So we got an idea from that. And in Korea, we have rural and urban conflict. And the youth in rural areas went to urban areas, and this led to more conflict between the rural and urban area. And this is happening in underdeveloped countries at the moment. So if we consider these situations, we felt that we needed to carry out this project. The name of the project is Poultry Farming Project to Increase Farm Household Income in Vientiane, Laos. And the area that we carried out our project is Vientiane. It's called an area that's Bac Sam Mari. It's about 5 kilometers from Vientiane in Laos. And the overview of the project is to support poultry farming based on our experience in the 1960s. So simply put, we are going to teach them to fish instead of giving them fish. And the budget for the project is 100 million per year, and it's a 3-year project. And from March of 2020, we will carry out this project until December 31st of 2022. So it'll be for 2 years and 10 months. And we are working with Milk for Laos, a NGO at Laos, and we are also working with Laos National University, and we are receiving support from KOICA. So the recipients in total are 248, but if you think about it in villages and families, it will be much more than the numbers shown here. So a brief summary of the project. It is a 3-year project. However, from 2017 to 2019, we did an incubating project. So for 3 years at Laos, we did a field study, a survey for their needs, and we identified what they would be needing, and we worked with the Agricultural University at Laos to identify the best way to carry out the project. And so there was a pilot project already, and 2 youth at the Agricultural University participated in this survey and study, and they are in their graduate years, so they are seniors at university. They went to the farms, and together with these university students, we identified the problems and gaps. And these 2 students, you will see pictures of them later on. And these 2 students, they provided training for the farms, and they are actually providing the support and service. And in the second phase, after the first phase of incubating, and then in the first year of the actual project, we developed a technology that would be most appropriate for the poultry farm households, and that technology will now be implemented in the second phase. And 200 chicken will be supported, and now already they have eggs coming out, being produced, and it will be expanded to 60 families. And these families that are in these villages will be gathered together as a co-op. And in the second year, we will be operating these co-ops. And then in the third year, to maintain sustainability, the co-ops will have to independently be operated. So we will support them so that they can be financially independent and connected with businesses and with other distribution channels. So in the project, there are various parts of it: creating a producers co-op, creating their own brand, training for the youth, and supporting poultry farming and feed and developing of breed. So it's very grand, but it's going to be starting very small at a village level. We will have dialogue with them and create this type of project with them. Now I want to briefly go through the project by looking at some of the pictures. So in Paksemai area, we worked with the farms there to sign an agreement for the producers co-op. When we selected the farms, we allowed them to select whether they want to participate in the co-op or not. And most of the farms decided to participate in the co-op, and as you can see, their expressions are very bright. And these 2 people here are professors at the National Agricultural University, and this is a person from the Office of Farming and Agriculture. And we developed our own brand. It's called KREI. So now we have this branded eggs, and it means in Laos, good eggs. And these eggs are being sold at Bien-Tin supermarkets. And as soon as they come out, they're all sold out. So these types of eggs that are produced in these ways never existed, and it's being sold out as soon as they come out, and there is more demand for it. So the demand is much more than the supply. And this is a picture of education and training provided to the farming households. We could not go there in person due to COVID-19, but because we have this cooperation with the University of Agriculture, we provide them with the material for training on how to raise the poultry and how to carry out modern type of poultry farming. And then the university professors use the material to provide the actual training. And that's not enough. So we also had an online seminar with the farm households, and unintentionally, in COVID-19 situation, we said, let's have this online seminar. And it was the very first international online seminar. So within Laos, it was quite sensational that we were having this international online seminar. And through online training, we are providing such training to the farm households participating in the project. And we have these youth. These two people in the picture are the faces of the youth participating, Tuni and Olaya. And so they are seniors in university. And they are busier than us because they go out to the farms. It's not easy for us to go due to language barriers. And they go out to the farms and provide the actual training. For 2 to 3 years, they worked with us to develop the technology and the poultry farming that would be appropriate for Laos. And we did this preliminary project for 3 years. So now they can operate on their own. And so this is the livestock farm that we built with them. Before we had something like this, they were just out in the open, scattered, and they would just roam freely. Once we visited Laos and we heard the request of the farm households, we thought about what type of technology they needed. And upon such review, we decided that a technology that would reduce the pollution of the soil, and we had to maintain appropriate temperature because it was too hot for the chicken to grow. And we had some like floor covering to prevent heat. And so we would put such like different type of soil on top and to develop this type of poultry farming method that was appropriate for Laos. And it has been distributed and disseminated in Laos. And to individual farm households, we would supply the chicken that was developed for Laos. And there was one meaningful thing, which was that the egg of a native Korean chicken was exported to Laos using this route. And so it was the first time in which Korean native chicken was breeded with a Laos chicken to have a more competitive breed developed for the eggs. And so this picture here shows whether they have been certified. In other words, whether they're participating in our project. And so we have sent these panels that certify the farms that are in our program, but it's not arrived yet. Well, anyway, there are 3 points that I wanted to talk about. It's that we provide a localized, adapted support based on Korea's experience, and we enable next generation youth experts that can lead these projects. And it's a village-based project, and we are working with universities and local citizens to create this 3-pillar structure to maintain sustainability, because we are working with the local staff and universities there. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.